What's happening?
What's up, man?
Oh man, just living the dream, brother. Living the dream.
That's good. You got to keep telling yourself that over and over and over.
It's the like on the endurance side of things, right? Like when you're dying, how do you feel? Outstanding,
Hmm.
outstanding. I feel outstanding. Oh gosh, talk
Yeah, I
yourself
mean,
into it.
there is a lot of truth to that, right? Like the energy that you kind of bring, it's the momentum, right? Like when you're down in your luck, if you just kind of continuously verbalize how things aren't working, it feels like it just attracts more of that, and you never get out of the rut. Um, I remember early in my real estate career, you hit one of those ruts, and you're like, nothing's working.
Yeah,
I got no business.
I
I
got
don't know
nothing.
what. And it just like that shit starts piling on top and you never get out of it. And one of my real estate mentors at the time was like, okay, well, what are you focusing on every day? I was like, I'm focusing on how shitty everything is every day. And he's like, all right, well, let's try to change your focus intentionally with a little bit of gratitude and affirmations early, just to kind of change that morning. And usually, what I've discovered is within about 30 days of that practice, if you do it every day intentionally in the morning, you look up in 30 days, you're like, damn, how did things change so quick? You don't even realize it, but you just start attracting the things that you want. And it's like business was slow. All of a sudden, I got a referral from another agent. I got a call from a past client. It feels like it just happened, right? But it's really where your attention and focus kind of goes.
What do you think? Real estate agents are notorious, right? They get something working and then they abandon it, right? And
Mhm.
so how do you stay, problem aware? How do you stay aware of, because everything in life is delayed gratification. So, how do you start to see, okay, wow, okay, this is working, but what's the real true, driving cause for this to start working?
Man, that's a great question. Definitely in real estate is difficult, right? Because you could do all the right things and not get business right away. It's very much like fitness, right? You could do all the right things. You could start eating healthy, go to the gym. You're not going to lose 50 pounds in a week. You're not going to lose it in a month. You're probably not going to lose it in 2 months, right? It's just that consistency. And real estate is the same thing. You could start prospecting, you can start marketing, but it's going to be 2, 3, 4 months before you see the fruit of your labor that you started today. So there is the level of consistency that you just have to be really disciplined, and you have to know, okay, in what I'm focusing on doing right now, does it work? Do have other people been successful? For example, let's say expireds. Do other people make money off expireds? Absolutely. The answer is yes. There's a million gurus that will sell you something and tell you they got the best scripts. So you know it works.
Right.
So if you're doing it and it's not working, then you can't say this doesn't work, right? You just haven't done it long enough. Maybe you haven't acquired the right skill. So it will work if you stick with it consistently. Like what I tell a lot of my agents now is, hey, if you're calling expireds, like, don't talk to me until after you've had 100 conversations. Because what I know is if you had 100 conversations, you probably set 2 appointments. And
Right.
if you're decent, you're going to convert half of those. So you're probably going to have your first listing at that point. But so many people want to give up. They're like 30 conversations, 40 conversations, 50 conversations, 70 conversations. And I'm like, dude, you're at the goal line.
Yeah.
Push
You're right there.
through it. And we've always given the example of direct mail, right? Like if you don't have a 12-month budget set aside, if you're going to mail $1,000 a month, you have to be committed to spending 12,000. You can't stop at 8 when you have not gotten a listing. You can't stop at 10,000 when you haven't gotten a listing. You have to see it through, because we know that is about the life cycle before that one thing pops.
Yeah.
So consistency is really hard. And then for some reason in real estate, you get a pillar that's pumping and working, and then agents want to jump to something else versus doubling down on what works. I don't know, if it's just chasing the kind of shiny object or something like that. If something works, double, triple down on it. That's just my belief.
So what is working right now? Like, what are you seeing? And you know, what's wild, man. I think it's every market, you know, is a little bit different. I mean, you know, if you can crack a code here in DFW, you're on to something, because it is, I think it's one of the hardest markets to be able to do anything within.
It's definitely one of the most competitive. That's for sure. I mean, you have some of the top teams with every brokerage and brand right here in DFW.
Yeah.
So, for example, you know, absentee owners, right? I know you talked to Kev about that, and he was having success with it. I was calling, testing the data as well here, and I would make a phone call, and people would say, "You're the 50th person that called. I'm not selling this house." He never experienced that, right? So why? Because we have so many agents who are trained in all of the top marketing things: circle prospecting, big data, expireds, home value, postcard, Zillow Flex. Like there's big dollar businesses here in brokerages and brands who do everything. So it is a little bit difficult to crack the code. For me, I went YouTube, as you know, because that allowed me to attract clients based on my personality. You know, I had a guy yesterday who commented like, "Would you shut up and just tour the home?" And I know for a fact that that guy's not buying a home from me, because every single YouTube buyer that I've converted has all said the same exact thing. "We called you because we love your level of detail and how you explain and break down the houses in the market."
Yeah.
So that is who I attract. So I've done now, I think I'm at 1.7 million views or something like that.
Wow.
I've had 3, maybe 4 people who commented, "Would you, you know, I wish you would not talk and just show the house." 4 out of like 1.7 million views. We've got about $12 million in buyers pending right now. And they all said the same thing. So am I worried about the 4, or am I worried about, you know, the couple $100,000 we're going to make off YouTube this year?
Yeah. And I think that's an important distinction to have, because you're looking for the people that are looking for you. And it's so easy to get caught up on those 4, and they're like, "Oh, we need to make adjustments." Like, no, hold the course, man. Hold the line.
Yep.
Like, you're doing what you need to do. You're creating a deselection process, right? It's like even what we do with hiring process, right? You gotta, you know, people deselect themselves. So like these clowns making comments, they're like, "Cool, you ain't my person. Get out of here." You know?
Yep. So yeah, I would say YouTube is really working well for me. My geographical farm, my neighborhood farm, is always a good one for me. But I've invested now. This is year 3. And what's funny is I've kind of fallen off this. And I just had this conversation with Sarah the other day, because we've got like 8 listings that popped up. And I'm like, damn, not one person called. And I was like, "Yeah, but when was the last time you sent a postcard? You did it religiously for 2 years. You did the end of school ice cream bash. You did Santa's coming to Miramonte. You sponsored everything." And then like the last 8 months, I've kind of fallen off, and it's showing now. I'm not getting the level of business. So I'm like, all right, I need to recommit, because everybody in the neighborhood knows who I am, that I'm the real estate guy. They always come up to us when we're at community events or at the pool or whatever. So we're back in. I get a phone call. I've got a listing going live next week in the neighborhood. And here's the power of the brand. Did not ask me my commission. Did not interview any other agents. She is doing a pre-listing home inspection, having my stagers go out, having my cleaners go out. All of this has never asked me, "How much do you charge?" Completely bought into my pricing. By the way, since I gave her the price, 2 listings have come on the market for $70,000 more than what we're going on the market. And here's the thing: she trusts me, because these other 2 listings that just came on, I've had other neighbors privately send me screenshots from Zillow and be like, "Is this neighbor on, like, are they on drugs? Because that house is way overpriced and they're sitting there 30, 40, 70 days on the market." So her level of trust, you're the expert. And by the way, I brought the data. The data doesn't lie where you should be priced. These people had real estate agents who I would argue are doing a huge disservice to that seller, because My house is going to sell in the weekend. They're going to sit there and lose other buyers. And what are they eventually going to do? Price reduce down, price reduce down. And they're going to end up selling for a price that is lower than what they would have gotten had they done it correctly in the beginning. But that's, that it is what it is. So I would say my geographical farm works really good. That's usually for me 6 figures. I could usually bank on about 100 to 140,000 a year from geographical farm, YouTube, and then expires is really, last year I tinkered with it. Last year I did like 5 or 6 expireds without making a cold call. I did it all through a drip campaign, which was awesome, having them call me. This year I've been committed to making the phone calls because I want to triple down on that avenue. And what's really powerful is I posted this on my story the other day. I'm going to find this while we're chatting. Sean was an expired. I called him, and most expireds are pissed, but we hit it off really well. He sent me this. This is June 1st. Let's do a testimonial next week. I'm in the sales business, and I know it revolves around referral and repeat business. I can't thank you enough for doing exactly what you said you would, exceeding all of my expectations. We went from 270 days on the market to 3 days on the market, full price offer. So, I love expireds because like this now becomes the reason why I continue to call people. It'll go in my drip campaign, a direct mail campaign. So I would say that's a good source of business. And I would say Google pay-per-click is also probably, but that one you need a pretty good budget. So I would say that's kind of my fourth in order of what's working.
I love that. Yeah, it's finding those that you're gaining traction and go deep. With leveraging AI, leveraging automations, leveraging everything that you can to really optimize those things that are working well. Do you think? Because I know you and I've talked about this, but how important to be positioned as the expert, especially in the current market conditions. It's like you said, right? To gain that trust to where it's like, I trust you on your pricing. Is that like, so I know you do your market updates for the area. So when you've got the geographical farm, how important it is it, we have a general market update that we send out, but if you're going farm, you need to do a market update specifically for that geographical area too, correct?
Yep. So I do a specific Miramonte market update. And what I've done over time, so my strategy in my direct mail in the beginning was to get opt-ins. So they all had QR codes that would opt them in for something about the community. So I've been able to garner almost 300 opt-ins. So almost 50% of my neighborhood is an email opt-in. So I'm emailing half the neighborhood a customized real estate market update. I'm sending out a quarterly market update via postcard to everybody in the community. That also has a call to action to sign up for the monthly videos. We also then do a quarterly home value postcard to the neighborhood. And then we sprinkle in just listed, just sold on our listing. So we try to hit them once a month with that. And then being really present. That's the other thing. Be really, really present in your geographical farm. Yeah. You have to volunteer. You have to sponsorship. You have to, people need to see your face. I always tell this story because I was listening to a real estate marketing show, and they tell the story of how they intentionally surveyed a neighborhood and said, who's the dominant real estate? When you think real estate, who do you think of? And they went to, don't quote me on if it was 700 or 1,000 homes, but they went to this area and they compiled all the data, and there was not one clear dominant agent. Okay. They fictitiously made up a fake realtor and sent out postcards like every 2 weeks for 6 months. Fake real estate agent, no sales, not a real person. They go back in 6 months and survey the neighborhood again. The fake agent has like 82% market share, top of mind in the neighborhood.
That's it.
So I tell people, you have to you really got to be, you can't do one thing. You got to do it all. I do video because they see my face. I do postcard because they'll see my picture. It gets in front of them. I'm hitting you in your email inbox. I'm hitting in your mailbox. I'm seeing you face to face. So we really try to be present, and it's worked for us. We as a single agent have the best market share in my neighborhood. But again, when people do call you, usually you're not competing, and usually they're very trusting of what you say. And I would say if you live in the neighborhood, that gives you a competitive advantage, because you could literally say, I'm really bought into making sure your home sells for top dollar, because I live in the neighborhood. I don't want the value. I'm not going to be like the other agent who undervalues your home. That's going to hurt me. Everything I do when I talk to my neighbors, I'm like, hey guys, it's your neighbor and Miramonte real estate expert.
That's so important, right? You got to play that angle. If you live in the area, you have to leverage that.
Yep.
What's cool too, though. So I love a little perspective on this. In these master plan communities, it's also, almost easier, right, to create collisions, because you've got the school, you got the pool, and now with the restaurants and everything, right there, if you, we got kids, we're active, we're out doing things. But if you don't have those master plan communities, you don't have a community pool, you don't have a school within the area, you don't have restaurants right there to where you can create the collisions. What are some other things that you think, man, hey, you need to really consider doing these type of activities to be present, to be one to many?
Yeah. So, let's talk about the different opportunities, right? I think if you don't live in a master plan community, but let's say I love golf, I might make an investment into a country club, make that $30,000, $40,000 investment, and surround myself and become the expert in the country club and create that affinity relationship of country club members. A yacht club. The Croys out in Jacksonville, they have waterfront and they have a boat. I'm like, I would be talking everything waterfront. All my videos would be waterfront. I'd be doing a waterfront tour from my boat, talking about the different inlets, the different homes, so you can create them without having the geographical confinements of a master plan community. The other thing I would say is I'm doing this even in my geo farm. So my listing that we're about to go live 2 weeks, I called the taco truck. So I'm going to bring in a taco truck. It's a $700 investment, bro. I'm going to send out 700 postcards.
Yep.
Hey, stop by, get a free taco, and come tour our newest listing. What do you think? There's 7 other active listings in this neighborhood. When they see the 100 people lined up at my open house, there should be no alternative of who you want to list your home with my ability to create a buzz and a demand, because those people are going to share on social media. And here's what we know. You might know a friend, a coworker, a family member who has thought about possibly moving into your neighborhood. That's why you leverage the other people in the neighborhood, because if they love the neighborhood, they're raving fans of the neighborhood. They're only going to talk up the neighborhood. Plus the FOMO effect, right? So when other non-neighborhood buyers come to the open house and they see that many people there, they don't know I sent out 750 postcards to the neighbors. They're thinking, holy shit, this house is in demand. So we do a lot of those things intentionally, and you could do that without being in a geographical area. Maybe you find an area of 500 homes in a zip code that go to a specific school. If you've got a confinement of a school, that works really well, especially if your kids go to the school and you have some involvement. I think you could circle in and around something like that. You got to be creative. Find the things you like. To me, my business has actually gotten a little bit easier now that I've had kids, because Nash is playing baseball, he's playing basketball, he's playing golf. Noah's in dance. She's in gymnastics, and she's in soccer. So like now we've met all of these people in these. So I'm leveraging those relationships.
Yeah.
They go to Prestonwood, which is a private school here. That's a whole new relationship that you can double down on. So you just got to really think, where's the opportunity to build relationships? And I use the word relationships because you could ask any of those people. I never talk real estate. Never. I'm never begging for business. I'm not the salesy. Hey, I'm in real estate. That is not. They all know what I do through conversations and building the relationships. And then you know what happens? They'll ask me a question about the market. And then I get to put on display my expertise and my knowledge. And they're usually like, holy shit. Last night, Noah's birthday. So we went out to Halo, had pizza, and we ended up having about 8-10 people come back to the house last night, watch the Mavs game. And one of my buddies like, hey man, how's business? Blah, 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 blah. And I was explaining to him how we launch a listing into the market. And my other buddy sitting there listening, and you could just look, and he's like,
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
They've never heard, the launch strategy, everything that we do. And they've all bought and sold homes with other agents. And now there's like this defining gap of what we do differently.
Yeah. And I think, to that point, right, when you're just showing up, and just goes to show the power of social media. It's like, you don't have to say what you do, because it's human nature, right? You're going to go check out this, like who's my kid playing with? Are they going over to their house? Like, let me creep on them a little bit. Let me creep all over their social. And then, they find you, they find what you do, and then they just go down the rabbit hole, and they're like, damn, this dude knows really what the heck he's talking about. So I think, to me right now, the power of social media is more powerful than anybody can even comprehend, right? They're like, I know it's powerful. No, it's like, it's everything, because that's where all of the eyeballs are. That's where all of the attention is. And, pre social media days, right? Where were the eyeballs? Where were the listeners? Where were your people at? That's why we crushed radio so much, because our people listened to the radio on their drive in and drive out, and at work. It was the station that was just on at work when everybody had to go into an office, right? So you've got to get you and your message in front of everybody. But the biggest thing, man, from an agent's perspective, you've got to just like go all in on social media. That's why I can't stress enough Gary Vee's new book, Day Trading Attention, just because that's where all of the attention is. And you get a lift in everything else you do, right? So like your neighborhood, you're staying consistent. They're seeing you, they're checking you out on social, you're showing up, you're making the number of impressions that it takes for somebody to start to comprehend in their mind. It goes back to your study, right? Like they didn't see enough consistency from any other agent, but they saw this fake made up agent, and they got impressions, consistently got impressions. So that was in their mind. And, our minds can only hold, two competitors. It's, 1 and 2. And our job is to make sure that we're one of those two in the mind of our potential, consumer.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say, make sure you continuously be the knowledge expert of the local market. One of the things I've started getting in the habit of, every morning I grab my book here and I go to the MLS, and I am looking at, in my area that I service. So Plano, Frisco, Prosper, Salina, McKinney, Allen, Little Elm, the Colony. That's really where I could drive to very quickly. I'm looking at how many active homes are on the market, what's the active list price, what's the average days on market for those listings. Then I want to know how many homes are currently under contract pending. And then I look at the last 30 days and I want to know how many closed, what was the average close price, the average days on market for closed listings, and then my month supply of inventory. And I jot this down. I try to do it every day, every other day. And I'm looking for the trends in the market. Are listings up? Are listings down? Are days on market changing? And at a basic, if you have this knowledge every day, you can pretty much hold a really good conversation about what's happening in your local market as it relates to inventory, pricing and how quickly homes are selling and the supply and demand and what that means for the future and what buyers and sellers should expect. So those are just some easy key data points everybody should be pulling every single day.
Yeah. He's just obsessed with it. And I know it was one of the things that, I would look at it every day. Obviously looking for opportunities, seeing what's there. I know, Stace does that as well, right? Like he's just like all over it. I mean, that's just one of the things. It's like, it becomes a habit of like, you can't even proceed through your day without checking and looking at all of that. It's how crazy it is. Man, dude, it's wild right now, man. It's either there's a big gap between you poll 10 agents, 5 are going to say things are the best they've been, 5 are going to say it's the worst things have been. Like, is it just trying to do too much? Shiny object syndrome, not getting clear, not like what is it?
I would say the ones who say it's great are adapting to the market. The ones who say it's not great have not adapted to the change of the market. I mean, it's very simple. The people who are having success have made certain changes in their approach to marketing and conversations based on the reality of what's happening in the market. The reason there's expired listings today is because most real estate agents have no clue why their listing is expiring. They think they priced it correctly. Because they priced using a traditional CMA, they use comparables from December and January. As an expert, you should know that between December and January, we had about 9 consecutive weeks where rates ticked down and they got as low as 6.3, 6.4%. About 1.25% was from the peak to the lowest interest rate in that December, January timeframe. Okay, that increased buyer demand significantly. So people who sold their home in December, January, and February were products of a lower interest rate. If you're using that data to price homes, your homes are going to expire because what happened? Rates went from 6 back up into the mid 7s. That changes the entire market. So they're not reacting to where the market is going. They're still looking backwards and have no clue how to make the proper adjustments to the market. That's why there's an opportunity in expireds. And I think that talks a lot about real estate agents is you have to know what's happening in the market. The number of home sales is down dramatically from 7.5 million to 4.1, 4.2 million. That is a gigantic reduction in the number of opportunities.
Facts.
So if you do nothing, keep your business the same, your business is probably down 40% over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah. Because
you didn't do anything different.
Yeah. And it's going to continue that slide unless the market picks back up and you ride that wave back up again, which who knows?
Right. Think about the agent who in the last 2 years has kept their production. They did not increase. They just kept it on par from where they were 2.5 years ago. The market's down 40. They're doing the same exact number of sales. They don't even realize they're up 40% from everybody else just being on par. That is gaining massive market share. So when the wave comes up, everyone else is just catching up. They're launched into a different stratosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's I think the biggest thing that I see too, man, with agents is that it's like, fishing, right? They're casting as often, but then they catch one. And then it's like fighting to get it in instead of, I need to get another cast and keep the cast going while I'm reeling this one in. And man, that's the biggest struggle that I'm seeing with a lot of agents, just not staying consistent on the activities within their control, reaching out, man. So how do you how do you maintain that level of consistency of getting that, keep that cast going?
I think you have to really be honest with yourself and look at your daily activities. Are you proactively generating business, or are you just managing the business that you have in the pipeline? Because if you're in the management and service phase of the business, you're not in the lead generation phase. Once you close out your existing business, you'll be back to zero. And then you'll have all the pain where then you have to get back into the activities to regenerate that business. But that puts you in these 90-day feast and famine cycles where 90 days, you have a bunch of closings, everything is great. And then once they close, you have no business for the next 90 days because you didn't do those things. So to me, it comes down to your calendar and being disciplined to my lead generation activities have to be blocked out. They have to be the highest priority of the day because they will literally create the business moving forward. And if you are running on a home inspection, an appraisal, writing an addendum, putting out a fire, and you're doing all that in the time you should be generating opportunities, which is going to be usually first thing in the morning between 8 and 10:30, 8 and 11. If you're doing the service side of your business there, you're probably in a lot of trouble.
Man, yeah. So when you were saying that, a couple things that you and I have been talking about lately, I think what really helped me, I've always understood, funnel, top funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, but the way that you put it together of like, guys, top is just awareness. Then you move them into the middle, which is consideration. And then you move them to the bottom and help them make a decision. And I'm like, got it. Like it's certain things, right? Like, I mean, I've been obsessed student of marketing really hardcore since we got introduced to Jay Abraham and then down into the Dan Kennedy cycle of things. But like, it doesn't even matter. I mean, like decades of following and trying to understand this. And it's something as simple as seeing the way you positioned it that way and everything you do is like, man, are you creating enough awareness? Or then are you getting them to consider, doing something, then getting them into where you can help them make a decision? It was really, really good. But the other thing too, I think from a lot of agents just don't get real crystal clear on the main metrics to pay attention to. Struggle with tracking. It's usually just in survival mode and just hunt and kill what they can see, not paying attention, not tracking. And love your take on this, right? If they're going to track two things in their business right now, and we're at halftime, man, right? It could be 21-3. Third quarter even got worse, right? 28-3 in the third quarter before, Brady being Brady. So it's never too late to turn it around for agents, is what I'm trying to say for your year. Obviously got to make adjustments. However, and I think maybe it's more of a laser focus, but if they're going to pay attention to two things that can turn the scoreboard around, what are those two things?
I think the one that supersedes everything is number of conversations. Everything pivots from that. So I would say I'd want to know how many conversations and then ultimately how many appointments, because conversations really turns the entire thing into a math. Like it's math.
Yeah.
If you are tracking your conversations and appointments, we will be able to sit down and say, okay, John, for every 47 conversations, you set an appointment. And then we know you're going to close 50% of your appointments become a transaction. Okay. So we need, let's just say 88 conversations for a sale. Like now we take your goal and we could divide that in and figure out how many people does John need to speak to this year? If we know, and we've been tracking conversations. Now, all of that can get better, right? Because you can improve your skill on your conversations and maybe go from 1 in 46 to 1 in 25. Now you exponentially grew your business. But if you don't know how many people you speak to about real estate on a weekly, monthly, yearly, I would say start there and then look at your appointments, because to me, if you improve the skill over the phone, you'll have more appointments. If you improve then your face-to-face conversation, you'll have more clients. In the sales in this market, usually, I mean, homes are still selling at a very high clip. So, as long as you in your presentation, you're articulating, pricing and why it needs to, if you do a good job on those two skills, you're going to close a lot of business.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you could even take it a little bit further. I know you kind of painted a general stroke, right? But when you know those numbers, then it's like, okay, what we're seeing is that conversations to appointment should be this. So what are you saying? How can we improve? So great, you're talking to people. Okay, how can we improve what you're saying? And then also, in those conversations, how many of them, you got into where you were able to make an ask, right? So you were able to make an offer to an appointment. And then even face-to-face, right? Like where man, you're meeting with a bunch of people, but you ain't doing, your numbers are off, right? But that's the indicator there. So I'm with you on conversations. The one thing that you really hit with me was number of new contacts added to the database, right? So like we need people, we need more people to have more conversations. So I think it's, but that's also the theory of constraints, right? Like if I'm not having enough conversations, do I have enough people to talk to? Do I have enough people to engage with? Do I have enough people, to have conversations with? So I think if, obviously conversations being the one that tilts it. If we're not able to do that, we check our effort first, right? Do we have enough people? We're just not putting in the effort, engagement, and conversation dials. Like, is that off? Is that really it first? But I think once you check that effort, then it's like, okay, all right, I'm talking to a bunch of people, but I'm not able to set a bunch of appointments. So let's go to skill. And then the other thing that we learned with building the call center was how good is the data,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, are we talking to qualified people here? Or are we just talking to in today's market? I mean, are you in the belief of really it's a have to market instead of a want to market?
Yeah. Oh yeah. People who are moving right now, there's a legitimate reason.
Yeah.
Because almost 80% of people are locked into a mortgage under 4%. So the gap of moving is so large that, so like I talked to my buddy yesterday, she's like, man, I went from a $3,000 a month mortgage to $6,500 a month. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That far and few people. Now, there was a motivation behind the move. He travels a lot for work. He's got a couple of kids, moved into a neighborhood where his wife's parents live. So she now has support for the kids while he's traveling. So there was a real motivation there. So it's, they didn't just wake up and say, let's just go move to a new house to move to a new house. So yes, for sure. You're seeing, which is why I do a lot of YouTube, right? Most of those people are relocation.
Yeah.
They're coming for a job. That's pretty good motivation. And they have a time frame to be here. So my job is to line up where you want to be next to your job and when do you want to be there. So that's a good lead source. And Expired is a good lead source because they had already thought about the next move and things didn't work out. So one of my key questions to them is, where were you hoping to move to next, right? Because what is the one thing you probably had some goals when you put your home on the market of being somewhere else for an important reason. So now that it expired, if you can uncover what that reason was and why it was important to them, they might be pissed off and say, nah, we're not moving. And you can say, hey, is it still important to you to get to Houston, to be closer to your parents? You had mentioned that they're getting a little bit older and you wanted to make sure you got down there. Yeah, that's still important to me. Okay, if I could show you how we can get you in there in the next 30 days while still selling your home for top dollar, would that even interest you? Would that even be worth 15 minutes of your time? And if you did a great job in uncovering their motivation, the answer is yes. But that's why you got to find the people who are truly motivated and why they're doing something. That's why I like expireds. That's why I like YouTube. You know, those things kind of usually have some type of motivation and timing built in.
Do you think you could utilize, the data that we talked about, the likely to move seller data from Kev, and obviously not making the calls to them because you're getting hammered, it's just because everybody under the sun, because of this market, right? It's oversaturated with the best of the best, right? So, like where Kev, it's not as saturated, just kind of his strategy. So it's working with the calls. Do you think you can still take that data though, and then put your marketing hat on, and then identify the data that's maybe in your geographical farm area or in the cities that you serve, and hit them in another way, getting an offer, getting in front of them another way through our marketing efforts versus trying to call?
Yeah. And I mean, I've even talked with Kevin, loading those things up into custom audiences and then running really targeted messages to those landlords and talking about their pain points. So a lot of times people are going to get if you got a cash cow and you've had great tenants, you're probably not going to want to sell. But if you've had some nightmare tenants and you got to get in there and renovate the home, it looks like shit, your last tenant pissed you off. Or what I came across when I was making some calls, we had some aging owners. Like I had a lady, she's like, man, I'm 80 years old. I don't need to be in the landlord game anymore.
Yeah.
So I think there's always a way if you can speak to you and I chatted about this and I used the Frank Kern. If you are a blank and you blank pain problem and you want this solution, here's what I could do for you.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate, like how to create an ad, a hook, anything that's been proven and tested by the top, marketers in the world. So if you speak to people like that, like in a video, if I started with, hey, if you're thinking about relocating to Frisco, Texas, you definitely want to watch this video. I'm going to share with you the 5 reasons you may not want to move to Frisco.
Yeah.
Shit.
I can give you 5 reasons why you wouldn't want to move here.
Of course.
Joking way. But
and every one of those 5 is flipped in a way where they're really not a negative, right?
Exactly.
So, but again, that's where you got to become a marketer, a student of marketing. The best, Michael Reese always says the best marketer wins, not the best real estate agent.
Never.
That's the damn truth.
Yeah.
You may know every word of the contract. You may spend like that. I honestly don't know if I've read every word of our sales contract. Probably not. Not every word of every addendum. Generally what they say and why but like if you have an abundance of opportunities knocking down your door, people who want to do business with you because you can get them to raise their hand with a great marketing message. Now it's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? Like you got an abundance of people to call. And like you said, that relieves bottleneck number 1, which is who do I call? Do I have enough people? And in today's world, that's really not an excuse because, if I'm a brand new agent, 0 budget, you know what I do? I do an open house every single weekend. Remember, you have Saturdays and Sundays. So you could technically do 8 a month. If you got nothing else going on, you could do that and you can get in front of buyers who are actively out shopping for homes right now. Yeah. But again, if you're new, what else could you do? You could go door knock the neighborhood and tell the people, I'm going to be doing an open house for your neighbor this Saturday. I put together a flyer. I'd love to invite you. I know neighbors usually like to check it out. I'll open it up 30 minutes earlier. Feel free to come by. By the way, share this with any of your friends, family, coworkers who may be interested in moving into this neighborhood. So you could start doing that and creating conversations for open houses. Then you get your leads in your open houses, creates more conversations. Home goes under contract, you could door knock again. Hey, we met the other week. Hey, great news. Your neighbor already got a contract on their home. Now, I can't tell you the price just yet because it hasn't closed. Would you like me to circle back and let you know first, be one of the first to know when it does close? Yeah, sure. Great. Awesome. What's a good phone number? I'll text it to you. So now you could gather and build your database and have more conversations. Then it closes and you're like, hey, John, Alex, EXP, we spoke. Yeah, remember I promised I'd call you right away? Well, your neighbor just closed today. Their home sold for X. It was this big, this many bedrooms, this many bathrooms. How does that compare to your home? Have you guys ever considered selling? No. Well, hey, it looks like there was multiple offers on that home. It sold really, really quickly. Do you know any of the other neighbors that I should be reaching out to that may be thinking about selling that we might be able to match up with one of the buyers that missed out? Like, those are all conversations in and around one open house that you can create. So, there's no shortage of opportunity to have conversations for free.
Yeah.
So
we always have a move, right? The only time we don't is when we just give up. And as long as you have the fortitude to stay in the fight and staying inquisitive, staying curious, you'll find the opportunity, because it doesn't matter. Every market, right? You and I've been in this game long enough to ride through some really tough markets, and there's always an opportunity. It's just like you said, you just got to keep looking. You got to keep digging. You can't pull up too soon, right when you're right there, right? It's that whole 3 feet from gold. So sometimes you're just right there, and you just got to keep digging.
And you have to be evolving, right? Like, if the market is up 10% this year and your business is up 10% this year, you really didn't do anything. The market did it, right?
You're riding the wave.
So you're riding the wave, which means when the market goes down by 20%, you also go down by 20%. So,
tide's coming in, tide's going out. Where are you at?
Yeah. So you got to be growing. You got to be looking for opportunities to read and understand the market and change some things up. Give yourself a competitive advantage. When the market is down, that's your opportunity to gain massive market share, because most people either get out of the business, they pull back their marketing budgets, and because they have that fear. But that creates new opportunities for people. So, right now, this is a great market. Go all in. I mean, we've seen headlines of how many agents are getting out of the business. And that's because the number of sales has gone down dramatically. So the people who were doing 2, 3, 4, 5 sales a year probably didn't close anything last year, or maybe they closed 1. And now this is year 2 and they haven't closed anything yet this year. And now they're looking at it like, man, do I really want to go through my continuing ed and spend a couple $100 there? Do I really want to renew my license? I met with somebody in my neighborhood. He has a real estate license and it's on hold. It's not active. And he goes, my wife asked me why the hell I keep renewing this thing. I've never sold a house with it. I'm going to continuing ed. So those are the conversations that are happening where spouses are like,
dude, what are you doing?
Are you really going to spend $500, $600 to renew your license? You didn't sell a house. Like, why don't you just forget it, or go inactive? And I think we'll see that. That'll create more sales for the agents who stay in the business. But yeah, you got to be changing and adapting right now. I think that's really important.
Love it. Brother, you're amazing. I appreciate you as always jumping in, and we have so many great conversations. I'm like, we should record more of our conversations, especially after, a little bit of adult entertainment, right? Adult beverages helps some of our conversations.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't know if you want to record all those.
Yeah, probably not. Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. You guys make sure connect with Alex, give him lots of love, and we'll see you guys next time. See you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Thanks.